guys, we jump directly into session number 2, sustainable mobility, and the big question, who is in charge here? Our first speaker on stage is a real Silicon Valley clean tech expert. She's a winner of 30 Under 30 by the Global Gurus and executive director of ESG Radio, one of the top podcasts driving global dialogue on innovation and OSG. And she will now tell us if yes, sustainability is a source of innovation. So please welcome on stage Vanessa Thompson.
With climate change, our actions in the next 5 years determine our fate in the next 100 years. We have 5 years to determine our destiny. We don't have time to wait for the next breakthrough. We have to use the technology we have today. The good news, we have every technology we need now to mitigate climate change. All the solutions are hidden in plain sight. I've had the honor of working at Silicon Valley startups for the past 8 years, from a NASA biofuel project to electric plane companies to venture capital groups to even larger organizations like the World Bank and the United Nations. And one of the most surprising things I tell people is we have all the technology we need today to mitigate climate change. The good news, we don't have to wait 10 or 20 years for the next breakthrough. We can start innovating with what we have today. Our challenge, though, is that we are going to have to scale and dramatically grow those technologies so they can be used by the masses. So my challenge for you today is to collaborate with everyone here, to collaborate with myself, to collaborate with all the incredible technologies here today, but to think about that 5-year time horizon. We have to start thinking about how we can bring these to the masses 1 or 2 years out, not 10. That's what's going to save us. Time magazine study showcased that we actually need to focus on the existing technology we have today, the logistics, the business strategy, and how we can make these technologies accessible. Solar and biofuels are 2 of the most overlooked technologies. Solar is the cheapest form of electricity today, and yet it only represents 3% of global electricity. Biofuels are an incredible technology. We no longer have to just use corn or soy or agricultural crops. We can make them out of so many different items today. And yet, you can't really get this at your local gas station. So, what we have to do today is we have to bring these to the masses, because it's not just about making the technology work, it's also about scaling the businesses that surround those technologies and bringing them to the market. Scale is the #1 predictor of success. When Jeff Bezos founded Amazon in 1994, he prioritized growth and scale more than anything else. In fact, he prioritized growth even more than profits. Today, Amazon is one of the largest companies, and more people use Amazon every month than the entire population of the United States. If we want sustainability and the future of sustainable mobility to be as big as the world's largest companies, we have to prioritize growth and scale more than anything else. So now we know that growth and scale are really important, and that we have a limited amount of time to do so. So how am I going to help you today? Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to showcase 4 technologies that I think you all should know about that already exist today and that we need to grow and scale quickly. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say how you can benefit from this. How are your businesses and organizations going to profit from these ideas? And how can sustainability actually help you innovate within your organizations? This technology is probably the most overlooked technology I'll talk about in this speech, and it's made out of old kitchen oil. You heard me right. The thing that most restaurants and kitchens just throw away in the trash is actually one of the biggest opportunities for business value. It's biofuel. Last year in December, United Airlines had their first biofuel-fueled flight made out of old kitchen oil. That biofuel made out of old kitchen oil reduced the flight's emissions by 70%. That is an incredible breakthrough Instead of replacing an entire plane and the financial responsibility that comes along with it, we could simply fuel it with something else, and a traditional plane automatically becomes a climate technology. Biofuels are really exciting, and they're often overlooked. But what's exciting about them is that they work with the existing infrastructure we have today. Our whole system was designed to work with oil. Every car, every plane, every aircraft, even houses and their heating and cooling systems were designed to work with oil. Biofuels work with that system. Instead of replacing every car, every plane, every aircraft in 5 years, we could simply fuel it with something different, something that's cheap, something cost-effective, and doesn't move around in pricing, and make those technologies instantly carbon neutral. They have incredibly stable pricing, and one of the reasons for that is because you can make it out of so many different inputs. You can make it out of old kitchen oil. You can make it out of algae, which we actually have too much of on the planet. There's plenty of algae blooms that are in lakes, ponds, and rivers that we need to get rid of, but we could fuel our economy with it. We can even make biofuels out of thin air. Bill Gates-backed startup Carbon Engineering is actually making biofuels out of carbon dioxide in the air. They're taking carbon air pollution, sequestering it down, and making car and jet fuel that's carbon neutral. Your traditional car would not have to change today. You could simply go up to the tank and fill up your car with a carbon neutral biofuel that would dramatically change the game. This is an incredible opportunity here for us to look at biofuels that work with our existing infrastructure. Our next technology that's hidden in plain sight is white paint. Los Angeles government is painting most of their streets white, and that's because with climate temperatures rising, the temperature of roads is also increasing. The roads are getting so hot that they're burning the bottoms of people's shoes. And that actually increases neighborhood temperatures significantly, as we've all seen with this past heat wave. Painting the roads white acts like an ice cap. When you paint the road white, the sunlight is reflected back into space instead of staying on the city level. This can reduce temperatures by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius in any given neighborhood, and that can translate into millions of dollars of energy savings. The best part about this is that it's easy, it's cheap, and it can be done in a day. That's a technology that can scale. If we're talking about the infrastructure that enables mobility, why not generate electricity from that infrastructure? Solar roads are already proven, they're already tested, and they already work. All we need is a solar panel that can withstand the weight of a car, which has already been tested and proved. Instead of having a dead asset that earns no income like a traditional road, we can actually generate electricity from that road and sell it back to the grid, sell it back to local communities and local buildings. These roads, they're also smart. They light up around pedestrians and animals, preventing deaths. And if you're in a place where it freezes, the road can heat itself, defrosting the road and preventing swerving and skidding. The last technology I'll showcase to you is carbon-negative cement. Cement is a huge producer of carbon dioxide when we're talking about mobility. This infrastructure produces 8% of global emissions. That's almost as much as every single plane in the world, which is 10%. So 8% is a very big number. But it could actually work towards our climate goals by making carbon-negative cement. Carbon-negative cement works in a way where you sequester emissions from the atmosphere, you turn it into liquid carbon dioxide, and then you put it in the mixture of cement. This actually makes the cement stronger and more durable. And it makes it carbon negative, putting all those carbon emissions in the ground instead of causing harm up in the atmosphere. So, how does any of this benefit you? Well, sustainability can be an incredible source of innovation, and I'm going to showcase how that can be. I'm going to use an example that's completely different from mobility to showcase the principle that this can be applied to absolutely any industry. And I'm going to talk about Interface. Interface is a carpet manufacturing company. They were voted one of the most sustainable businesses in the United States, but before that, they were voted one of the most dirty businesses in the United States. And they decided in the 1990s that they were suddenly going to switch to become sustainable. Now, at the 1990s, they didn't have a lot of the normal benefits that most sustainable companies have today. Most of the time, if you become a sustainability company today, your customers will want to buy more of your product because they know it's sustainable. Your investors will want to invest more in your company because they know it's sustainable. That wasn't the case in the 1990s. They didn't have the benefits from customers or investors. The benefits that they got were only from product innovation. Sustainability ended up being the hack they needed to become leaders in their industry. Now, I'll give you one example of one of their innovations. One of their first environmental initiatives was removing all of the toxic glue from their carpets that helped adhere the carpet to the floor. What they looked at nature as the source of inspiration. They found that a gecko's foot can climb up a wall without any glue at all. The suction created by the gecko's foot, they mimicked on the bottom of the carpets and were able to secure the carpet to the floor without any glue. This lowered the price of their product because they suddenly didn't have to pay for this input of glue. They were able to have a lower cost than their competitors and actually become leaders in the industry. One more example I'll give you, which is it was once thought to be impossible to have recycled plastic in carpeting until they pushed their supplier to come up with a new patent that became a sustainable solution. They made 100% recycled carpeting, and that same patent is used by Gucci and Adidas today. A carpet manufacturing company is now influencing Gucci, Adidas, and other global brands because of their product innovation. I think we often think about sustainability and business going together, but we don't often think of sustainability as the reason those businesses can do better, the asset, the strategy that we can actually utilize. And it actually makes sense. When you have to use less resources, which is a huge part of sustainability, using less resources, it forces you to become more efficient. When you have to pollute less, you have to rethink your whole process, and you come up with new patents. So, if you're wanting to know how you can do this in your business, how can sustainability be a source of innovation in your business, I want you to really pay attention to this next example. So take out your iPads, take out your notes, because this is really interesting and something you can start doing today. And it's called waste to value. It's one of the sustainability as a source of innovation concepts. And it's basically where you're taking waste and you're taking all of the things that you're normally throwing away and finding a way to make value out of it. How could you make a new product from something you're normally throwing away? This is what Barry Callebaut did. Barry Callebaut is a chocolate producer. They produce 1 in every 5 chocolates you eat today. And before they understood this, they were throwing out 70% of the cacao bean that they were paying to produce. They would just take the seeds of that cacao bean to make chocolate and throw the rest away, even though there was a very nutritious fruit that they were just throwing in the trash. Well, when they went through it, they found they could make cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and health foods, and so many other products out of what they were originally throwing away. Those products ended up being some of their most profitable products. So sustainability can be an incredible source of innovation, and this is one way that all of your organizations can get started in this right away. Think about everything you're wasting, everything you're not taking advantage of fully, and how can you make a product out of it? How can you create value out of it? Not only is that great for sustainability because you're reducing your wastes, but it's also an incredible opportunity. So sustainability isn't just a necessity for the survival of humanity. It's a hack for innovation that's hidden in plain sight. I'd love to learn more from all of you. Thank you so much for your time.
Vanessa, thank you very much. Now, I really want some chocolate. Now, I actually have my own waste to value concept at home. I totally recommend it to all of you because I have a little child and they never eat everything, so I have lots of leftovers. So last year we decided to have 4 raccoons and they eat everything. So I totally recommend everybody to have a raccoon at home for the waste to value concept. You talked about all the sustainability as a spark of innovation. How can we make sure, how is it for you, how can you use sustainability as a spark of innovation yourself, but also how can we do that? Do you have any tips for us?
Absolutely. Well, I'll give one example, which is Dr. Mohammed Christie. Dr. Mohammed Christie came up with a respirator concept. He's an inventor and a doctor. And basically, childhood respirators normally save most infants from childhood pneumonia, which is the leading cause of infant mortality in the world. He found out how to make a $15,000 respirator into a $2 respirator using a shampoo bottle. Now, what's really incredible about this is I think it comes back to the idea of the interface story, which is about using constraints to actually force you to think outside the box. He had to constrain himself a lot with costs so that hospitals that didn't have a lot of wealth to buy this big respirator could actually afford this childhood respirator. And he had a lot of motivation also. So I think what's great about sustainability is it combines that motivation for you to think outside the box, because if you don't have that motivation, you won't do it. But then it also constrains you and forces you to think outside the box, because you have to think about every part of your system from the ground up, which we should all be doing as big companies. We should be looking at our operations and trying to think how we can completely redo them often so that we aren't innovated out of existence, shall we say.
Perfect. So you showed us some example for the waste to value concept. And by the way, I've never seen somebody talking that enthusiastic about biofuel. That was really impressive. Can you tell us a bit more about how businesses can benefit from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So another example of the waste to value concept would be Ingevity. And Ingevity produces chemicals. They actually produce a chemical that prevents off-gassing of oil, so preventing unnecessary gas from being released, and then it can't go into the car. And they actually make that chemical out of sawdust, which is a waste product of the lumber industry. So they're using a waste product from one industry and making it actually the source of a whole nother business's source of revenue. So I think that's a perfect example. But I think just going through all of your waste products and thinking about, if it's not you, is there another industry that can benefit from all your waste products?
Absolutely. Perfect idea. Thank you very much for the moment, Vanessa. We see each other again in a couple of minutes for the panel.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.